What's going on, guys? It's Cody and Matt. Welcome to another episode of the Broken Moto Show. If you guys are unfamiliar with us, Matt runs How to Motorcycle Repair, an awesome place to learn about motorcycles, repair motorcycles, and do a lot of cool other stuff like garage stuff and things that I would inspire to have in my garage as well. And I run themotorcyclemd.com, and as well as he has his own YouTube platform, and so do I, where we help people work on motorcycles with whatever you're dealing with, hopefully. If you're new to this, we started Broken Moto Show quite some time ago, and we are back again for the 2023 year, trying to bring back the questionnaires that we get. We get lots of emails, and instead of just hammering out each one, which takes forever, we can just knock out a few on here, provide some content, some laughs, hopefully, and bring you guys some maybe some advice on things that you deal with your motorcycle. Matt, what kind of questions are we looking for? How can they get a hold of us? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so if you have an issue with your motorcycle and you don't know how to fix it,
Or
you can,
ATV or
or
whatever.
whatever, just
Yeah.
anything motorized, right?
Yeah.
Chinese scooters too.
Yeah, we do it. We try.
You may not like our answer, but we'll try. No, so if you have an issue, you can send us an email with your make and model, mileage, be descriptive of the problem, any modifications. Pictures, videos are a huge help, and we'll share it on here, and we'll try to do our best to help you resolve it.
Yeah.
So in the video description, there'll be a way to submit that question.
Yeah. And we're backlog right now on questions, so we're working our way through. I know it's gonna take a little bit of time for this to gain traction with the traction that I had before, for people to run into issues, but it's wintertime. You guys should be working on your bikes with whatever you're doing. Projects that you've been putting off, tune-ups that you've been putting off. So hopefully we hear from you guys. And maybe we'll try to like work in one new question with the old questions, because then it's just like, well, shoot, we got 4 months of
Yeah,
old questions and we'll never get to anybody's. So maybe we'll work in some new questions so
sure.
people can hear from us.
Hit it from the top and the bottom.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, so let's just fire it off, man. We got some questions to go through. I don't really have any updates. I mean, 2023 year, I have a couple of things that we're working on. We do have a free course if you guys are interested. We call it the Wrench to Ride course. Me and Matt collaborated and just tried to figure out what things people ask, what we feel like is necessary when you do own a motorcycle, whether it's your first time or your 10th, of things that you can do in your own home with your own tools and your own time, and not necessarily pay a shop to do. If you want to get a little bit more in depth, let's say you have a harder problem that you would like to learn more about, there's many ways that we have tried to cure this. We do have the motorcycle repair masterclass. It's like 140, 160 plus videos of a little bit more, like way more in depth things when it comes to electrical and suspension and brakes and even engine stuff, that like all different types of stuff. Me and Matt are working this year and hopefully to create some type of advanced model of that also, which
Yeah.
is just more in depth motor stuff, rebuilds, valve adjustments, all different types of stuff that would the normal person would a little bit probably be intimidated by, right?
Yeah.
And I think as far as the motorcycle ND side, I am working towards some more carburetor rebuilds. GL 1200 stuff coming out soon. Working on a program fuel injection module that I'm excited about, because program fuel injection is not the easiest thing to know, and I'm hoping to learn as I introduce, in other words. So that's what I got going in 2023 for me.
Gotcha.
What about you, man?
Yeah. So, well, in the last episode, I talked about finding a project.
Yeah,
So, in addition to what you said, an advanced course and whatnot, I need to find a project. Like, don't know what it's going to be.
yeah,
I don't, something's got to fire me up, and I
yeah,
I can tell you right now, nothing is. So I you know that feeling. So I,
yeah.
I don't know.
Would you ever get a snowmobile?
I was thinking about it the other day,
Yeah,
but because I live right across from the high school, I could probably just go rip right in this field right here. People aren't gonna like that, but I could do that. But you know what, dude? I think I texted you before Christmas. I'm like, holy cow, dude, we're scheduled to get 16 to 20 inches of snow, right?
it's insane.
I'm
Yeah,
like, yes. as the days went on closer to the storm, we got 2 inches. So I was all excited, dude,
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, it's not worth having a snowmobile around here.
What about like a four-wheeler? The problem with those is like they take up a lot of space.
No, dude,
You're
well,
not a
like,
four-wheeler guy?
no, I'm not. I mean, my brother and my parents have land up in Wisconsin, but it's closed down in the winter. But if I got a snowmobile, I'd be able to keep it up there. But again,
Okay.
I wouldn't have much use. I wouldn't use it all that much.
Yeah.
So
They have land that's closed down. Why do they close the land down?
no, the the house or the home,
Oh, okay.
we shut the water off and winterize it. So there's no
Got it.
toilets, no running water. It's not heated,
Yeah.
so it's rough.
Yeah.
So it's fun though. Sometimes I go up there with my buddies, or I took my kids there before Thanksgiving, and because my son got a new pellet gun, and dude,
Nice.
it's awesome. It's like the single cock, single pellet, non CO2, because CO2 you go through a lot of that.
Oh, no, yeah.
Dude, they went through like 400 pellets in a day. It was
That's
crazy.
awesome. That's awesome,
So,
dude.
yeah.
Well, cool, man. Let's hop into it.
Yeah. You want me to get the first one here?
I'll get the first one. I think you got the first one last time.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, this is the cracked plastic one. So Scott sent us a email way back when. And he had a video, but I think he since took it off where you can't view it. So we can't even really show what he was talking about. But I was talking with Matt before we even started because I was like, hey man, I can't view this video, which means we can't show you guys the video. But I would imagine it's on the topic because he wrote in, hi guys, I have a short video with my question. Not sure how this can incorporate into the info of the show, but I'd appreciate the advice. And the title of the email was cracked plastic, which to me sounds like he's looking for a repair for cracked plastic. And I was like, well, this question is kind of irrelevant because we can't show anything or he didn't say anything. But Matt brought up this thing that I've never heard of when it comes to fixing broken plastic, cracked plastic, or like those when you go to the older bikes, they got the side covers that have those plastic pins, notorious for eventually breaking off because there's like 10 different reasons why, but they break off. And once that happens, usually the side cover is null and void. It's screwed unless you try to JB weld it or you put screws in it or you do all this crap that I've never seen work efficiently. And you came up with something or you found something. Talk about that.
So, I mean, we've all been there JB welding it and it's just, it's going to fail. It's going to crack off again. But anyway, I came across this plastic repair kit. The company's called Plastex. And what it comes with is some molding clay. Okay. It comes with this bar and you heat up this bar on a hot plate and it gets soft. So what you need is, let's say you have a broken tab or a broken pin. You need a good pin to copy.
Okay.
So what you do is you wrap this warm molding clay around the good pin or tab, and you let it cool, and it gets hard again. And then you peel it off. You transfer it to the broken section, and then this repair kit comes with like a syringe or a pipette. And you fill it with this chemical. I don't know what it smells like shit, but it almost smells like, a porta potty on a hot day. That's what it smells like. This mixture. It's disgusting. But anyway, so you got this liquid, and then you have this tin of powder, and you can get it in any color, black, white, red, whatever. And you dip it. And you get like a ball forming, and then you transfer it and you squeeze it, and then this powder and liquid flows into this mold and fills it. And then you just let it set up for a few minutes, and then you take the clay off, and bam, you have plastic again.
So you're literally recreating, because you said that you needed a new, like let's say it's a broken tab on a side cover. And you have you have the one that broke off, right?
No. You copy another pin. So let's say on a side cover, there's 3 pins.
Yeah. Oh,
you have to copy a non-broken pin.
gotcha.
Okay. And then you just mold one of them. Think of this mold like Play-Doh, right? You mold
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
If you squish it around and you peel it off, and with a pin, you're probably gonna have to do it twice, the bottom half and the top half. But like a tab, you can do in one shot.
yeah. Okay.
So you have to mold something that's not broken, and you transfer it to the broken area, and then the mold, there'll be a void where your plastic needs to go and reform that shape.
So you would just stick that mold that you made into the area that needs the pin, and then you fill it with this stuff.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's strong, dude. It's strong as the base material. It's very strong. So I bought it because on my Chevelle, I had it my grill,
Yeah.
and the grill has fins that run horizontally, and one was cracked all the way through and chipped. So I
Okay.
just took that mold bar and molded a couple inches over, right? A good fin or a good
Yeah.
area, and then I moved it over, and then I put it in there, and it's fixed, man.
Dude, I would love to see if did you say that there are videos on it?
Yeah, so this company has YouTube videos on how to use it, and
Nice.
it'd be awesome for motorcycles. I mean, that's what they market it to as well.
That's killer,
So
dude.
yeah. Or if it's just a crack, no missing plastic. Let's say you just got a clean crack, you can get this stuff really thin and it'll flow right into there and bond it all back together.
Dude, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
I would love to see. Yeah, so we'll probably put some links. If this episode is short, maybe we'll even throw in a little clip of it, but we'll put some links to those videos below because I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, sweet. All right, man. Next question.
All right. So this is a question that I'll read and you'll probably answer. Kind of reverse of what we did there.
Yeah.
All right. This is from, geez, what's his name? It's for Shadow VT700C and VT800C fuel pump options. It's from
Name's
Brian.
There
Yeah, Brian. There we go. I've been watching a bunch of your videos lately as I'm working on my first Honda VT Shadow. I'm very, very familiar with the older Honda CB twins and fours, but very new to the 88 VT800C. As you may know, it's 1 year only bike, and not surprising, there are no OEM Honda fuel pumps available for this bike.
Surprise.
I've done a lot of searches, and the best option I've come up with so far is a Quantum pump. Quantum Fuel Systems claims it is direct replacement for the Honda part number 16710-MK7-000. Here's the eBay link to the pump I'm considering. It is at least a 4-wire with a different plug, so it appears that I have to cut my old plug and connect it to the new aftermarket pump. Do you have any better options for my application? Thanks in advance, Brian. So I can't really help with this question. I don't deal with this model at all.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't get the pump for them, right? They're not available from Honda. And aftermarket companies are making them. So I have two suggestions. One, go with the aftermarket pump because you don't have any options, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just the way that it is, especially if your old pump is bad. I've even seen like some like on the motorcycle MD inner circle. I have a Facebook group. It's like a community of people who are in the inner circle, and we can talk about their problems kind of real time and share videos, pictures. It's pretty cool. And people have dealt with this, and they have gone as far to even source the parts that are inside the pumps, which blows my mind. I don't have enough time in my day to like look for parts that are in a pump that shouldn't even come apart to begin with.
Yeah.
But they found them, and you can try it, but I would hate to have a fuel pump leaking while I'm riding the motorcycle if I didn't do it correctly. I'm sure someone's rebuilt. There are people out there who can they'll take the time to rebuild something that should have just been replaced to begin with, So I would say go with the aftermarket pump, especially if that's the only option. The other thing, like when it comes to this bike specifically, I think there was like a V45 Magna, which is a VF bike. It is a 4-wire pump, I believe. And I was able to find a bike from another company who had a similar, and if I could tell you how I came up with it, I don't know. But there's pumps from other companies that are still being made, and they're manufactured with, Suzuki, Yamaha, Mitsubishi, whoever's making those fuel pumps, that you can retrofit, right? Like I think I found one for a V65 or V45 Magna, which is pretty similar to the 700, 800s. I think it was, I want to say it was like this is burned in my brain. It's a '05. I think it's a Suzuki Marauder. I think that's what it was. And I was able to look at the wiring diagram on the pump. It's a similar motor and it had a fuel pump. And I looked at the wiring diagram and it was a 4-wire pump, because the 4-wire pumps are different from the 3 wires because it needs like a signal from the coil or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how they work. But it like triggers the pump mechanism based off of a signal. And I was able to retrofit that in and it worked great. And the guy still comes in years later and gets little tune-ups done, and it's been working fine. I think you're going to deal with like inlet size with the fuel hoses, as far as the in and the out and the in may be on the opposite sides of the pump. They may be on the same sides, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be your figuring it out, But I would, at this point in the game, if you have a bike like that and there is a aftermarket pump available, I know I've been against aftermarket pumps for very long with many different bikes, but mainly because the factory pump is still available. That's where I have a problem with you guys buying aftermarket pumps that don't work well. You're like, they're $17. I bought 4 of them. Cool. If you feel like changing out fuel pumps every 3 or 4 months, or you now have an issue because it won't go over 60, and you're trying to figure out how to replace a fuel pump with this eBay one and it won't go over 60 now. Well, you're the problem, So when the pump is available, I always suggest buying the pump. When it's not available, and it really is not available, the aftermarket pumps, I just put an aftermarket pump literally on a VT 700. It might have been the same year and everything. I put an aftermarket pump on it. It was a little bit noisier because you can kind of hear that thumping of the pump, but it worked great and it ripped, and I used it because that's all I had to use. So that would be my 2 cents when it comes to that bike in particular, or fuel pumps in general.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, all right. So a pump is a DC motor. It should have a minimum of 2 wires, a positive and a negative, to run. So
Yeah.
You mentioned the 3-wire. How about a 4-wire setup? What are the other 2 wires for?
So I think that 2 of them work as grounds. It's almost like you have a power wire that pumps it in and a power wire that pumps it out. It's like it's triggering it to do this.
Oh, no kidding.
That's the best of my knowledge. I think that
so it's got to be computer controlled, obviously.
Potentially. The other thing that it could be is if it's a 4-wire, you have a tracer signal coming off of the coil that is pulsed, right? Which is as the pulse increases in the coil, the pump needs to also increase. And then you have safety wires, right? So kill switch needs to be on. Side stand can't be down. Like those other wires would likely be like a safety wire. So key has to be on, that's getting power. Now it's grounded, and then the kill switch has to be on. So that transfers power and allows it, vice versa. I think that's usually when you come into the more wire range, it's just a safety precaution. Like, because some bikes you can have the kill switch off and turn the motor through, but it won't do anything because it kills the ignition, which means it kills the pump because it's waiting for that signal from the coil.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my car is wired up that way. It has a enable from the computer for safety. So if the motor dies, you don't have the pump running, and potentially be a safety issue if something happens. So
right. And I'm sure there's ways that you could like jump 2 wires together and make intricate or ground it or whatever. But
sure. Yeah. Just know what you're getting into if you're doing that, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, cool.
And some of them also have relays.
Yeah.
Like there'll be a relay outside of the pump, like on the CBR 600RRs, on any of the fuel injected bikes, usually there's a fuel cut relay.
Right.
And so that's feeding wires to the pumps. Now you have a 4-wire pump.
Yeah.
That fourth wire is sensing the relay that everything is good and that it will allow it to pump. So it all comes down to the schematic. Just look at the schematic,
Gotcha.
try to make sense of it.
Yep.
Cool, man. So I'll take the next one. Matt and Cody. I have a 1982 V45 750 Magna, followed me home. What I can say, I had to keep it. Well, what can I say? I had to keep it. It's in good shape, runs well with no pop, sputter, or hesitation. Starts cold just fine. I rode it the first time 3.5 miles through a tiny town into my garage, not over 45 miles per hour, and it had no problem. Shut it off there. My neighbor, who had told me about it for sale a long time, racing wrench, I guess he's an old tech, came over to hear about it. It cranked up until I drained the newish battery. It cranked over, came over, it cranked until I drained the newish battery, cranked like normal, but would not fire up. Okay, it's 2 tender days later. Battery was back in, gas drained, refilled, fresh, room started right away. Took a 13-mile ride and stopped 5 minutes from the garage in the park, shut it off for a few. It took 6 attempts before it caught. Then it ran fine back to the garage. I took apart the kill switch to douse some contact cleaner in there, and the starter button saw no corrosion, fuel pump ticks. Wait, but that only I'm sorry, I can't read. But that only pressurizes to get fuel out of the auxiliary tank. The main gravity feed, I have not yet. Dude, I'm bad at reading. You know that? Like, I need to learn where I can't even see the period, so I just think it's like a run-on sentence. The main gravity feed I have not yet pulled the fuel filter or seen the plug. CDI is on my mind as well, as the non-starting so far seems to be heat related. Your thoughts? Thanks in advance. Cheers, Paul. He also sent us an email a while ago. Glad you enjoyed the Greasy Hands Preachers doc. Those ignition switches are also funky. I heard that he went into the kill switch and the starter button. The ignition switches, there's a bunch of wires coming off the back of those ignition switches, and sometimes you can click it and the neutral light will be on and everything's great, but like it's not, something's not getting a signal when it comes to the ignition switch. As far as because it sounds like it's turning over, so it's not a starter issue. It potentially is not a starter issue. What I have seen, and this happens on GL 1500s in the shop, where the starter is beginning to go bad, and it takes a lot of energy or a lot of amperage voltage to get the starter going, and it's draining so much voltage that the coils are not getting enough juice to produce a spark good enough to fire the motor. And what you'll see is that you're turning the bike through on a GL 1500 and it's and the battery sounds healthy, it's turning over fast, but until you drop your finger off the starter button, like that second that it drops off, it fires up. Because it's like you stop the power to the starter, and the power is now able to hurry up and get to the coils in that millisecond. It's very interesting how it works, but I've seen that with GL 1500s, and I would say that it could be that problem. I would, next time that it happens, the best thing you can do is just to diagnose it real quick. When you after you're done riding, you put it in that scenario again, 5 minutes shut down, and you go to fire back up and it's not starting. Hurry up and pull the spark plug cap off, put a dummy plug in it, lay it against the motor, and see if you got spark. If you don't have spark, now you know where to go. Now you know where to start at least. Ignition system. You have a 2-coil system, so I would do both coil wires, cylinder 1 or 4 or whatever, and make sure that both coils are not sending spark. If both coils are not sending spark, you now have a better diagnosis. If only one is and the other one isn't, Yeah, now you have a better diagnosis. You kind of see what I'm getting at. You got to do like a process of elimination really quick to see if it is in fact the spark being killed. If it has spark, but it's very weak, okay, well, now we got to figure out why that is. If I put a jumper battery with this battery, which you said is new or you've charged it, it's fully good to go, put a jumper battery on it. So now you're giving it, or in series, whatever, parallel, I don't know which one it is, but you're giving it the opportunity to have the most power it can possibly have to turn the bike over and see if the spark gets better. That's what I would do. If it was on the bench, that's what I would do. Get all that?
Yeah, I did, and I was good. I was going to agree with you. When the problem occurs, you got to check for spark.
Yeah.
I mean, it has compression, right? We can rule that
Yeah.
out, obviously, and then it's obviously a fuel issue or a spark. One or the other is missing.
Right.
I would probably lean towards an electrical issue.
I would too.
So, no, that was
Would
good.
too.
Good advice for sure.
Sweet, man.
Let's do one more. It's on that doc that you added, right?
Yeah.
All right, let me get over there.
Question 4.
Yeah. All right, next question. Hey guys, new to your show. First of all, I want to say kudos. Anyone that can get donations for beer are straight up legends. Now, moving on to my issue. I just recently purchased my first bike. Gotta say, I'm pretty happy with it. It's an 07 Honda Shadow 750 Aero. 3,000 miles. Bought it used with for a little over $3,000. So this is probably pre-COVID, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy I bought it from installed a Vance and Hines exhaust and a K&N air filter. Said he had the oil changed, even fueled it full for me. What a nice guy. He did, however, mention it had a dead spot on the low end of the throttle. Now sitting at idle, I couldn't really hear any issues, but when I take it out for a ride, it seems to hesitate or bog down on takeoff. Kind of makes me look like I never opened a clutch before unless I run the RPMs above the dead spot on takeoff. Laugh out loud. Now, once the RPMs start to climb, it smooths out, but not perfectly. Once in a while, I'll get some popping in the car, but not after it warms up, and on decel, it backfires. The guy said he cleaned the carbs, but he didn't say to what extent, and he didn't mention if he had the carbs adjusted after the exhaust upgrade. Could this be fixed with a simple carb adjustment? Should the carb be rejetted? Is cheap fuel a factor, as I like to run premium in my small engines? Any advice would be helpful. Thanks for your time. New subscriber, Rick. Okay,
Thanks,
this is 100% a jetting issue.
Yeah.
You put on an aftermarket air cleaner and pipes, and it's just not calibrated to give the correct amount of fuel.
Yeah. Especially both of them together.
Yeah, and I mean the stock air box is usually so restrictive.
Yeah.
Is this just an air filter or total? It's probably just the air filter.
It's probably just an air filter. Yeah.
Okay, so but whatever. It needs to be rejetted. You can buy a jet kit. Cody, I know you're not a fan of those.
Yeah.
This is an Aero. Is it a dual carb model or a single?
07.
750. It's an Aero.
Keep talking about it. I'll look it up.
Anyway, so how I would jet it is well, first off, what I would do is, something really simple. What you can do is partially turn the choke on and go ride it, and it should respond better. If it does, that just tells you that it's lean, and now you've given it a little more fuel, and you've confirmed that it just wants more fuel.
I think it's a single carb.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As far as jetting, you can try to do it yourself. Before even taking the carb apart, you can run through the fuel adjustment screw setting, and that thing will probably want 3.5, 4 turns out and still want more. In that case, I would probably go 1 or 2 sizes up on the pilot jet. Shim the needle with number 4 washer, 40 thou thick. Go to the hardware store to get that. It's like a penny.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 pennies.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. And then as far as main jet, probably what, 10, 15, 20.
If even that, man. I think shimming it up, if you wanted to set the main up, one stage, meaning like 5 numbers, when let's say it's a 60 main, you go to a 65 with a shim, I think you might be hitting it because he's not really complaining too much about wide open.
That's true. Yeah, mainly the the decel
Yeah.
pop is all pilot jet, and then mid range, like when you're trying to accelerate, that's your needle.
That's your needle.
So and generally you want to focus on those two the most, because that's when
Yeah.
that's the majority of the time.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's concerned about main jet, but that's 3/4 to full throttle. And come on, let's face it, most of us aren't hot dogging these things all over the place. So
You're not. That's and that's a very good piece of advice. A lot of people do focus way too much on the main jet, and unless you're having an issue with throttle wide open at high RPM, it's not just like wide open at off of idle, like trying to rip a burnout, but spot on, dude. This is a classic lean mixture.
So I have a good blog post, how to size your pilot jet, but basically you want that pilot jet. It's correct if your fuel screw ends up at around 3 turns out. That's ideal. If it's more than 3 turns out, you're too lean on the pilot jet. If you're under 3 turns, down to 2 turns or whatever, you're too rich. Okay, that mixture screw trims the pilot jet at idle.
Right.
Okay, so that gives you, and that's, to me, that the answer is right there in the screw. So that's kind of an easy thing to jam, in my opinion.
Yeah. Plus having your mixture screw at that between, I would say 2 to 3, having your mixture screw there would allow for other small adjustments when it comes to weather, when it comes to certain aspects, because gas changes in the wintertime and summertime, it just burns differently or whatever, cold, whatever. And so having the mix, why it's good to have the mixture at that kind of setting is because it just gives you some back and forth movement. If you're going, like he said, if you're anywhere close to 4, you're going to risk that thing actually even falling out. There's just not enough spring pressure behind it to keep it going or tight in there. So yeah, that's great advice, man. Yeah.
Now, do you have any carb rebuild videos on this model?
I do. I have that exact model over on the website. If you are interested in learning how to take it apart, what things do and why, I have a carb video that does go through that entire system for that specific bike.
There you go. Grab that video and the parts we mentioned, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. Unless you've already solved the problem.
2 years later.
2 years later. Awesome, man.
All right.
That wraps it up.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. Make sure to grab the free course. It's in the video description. And then if you want something more, we have the masterclass, which is 140 plus videos. So make sure to check that out. Yeah. If you guys have any issues with your bike, a couple ways to reach out to us down in the description. Until then, we'll see you guys next month on another episode. So you guys ride safe, stay warm, and we'll see you then. All right. Thanks for watching. Later.